I really appreciated and enjoyed watching how connected and active the Suns were on the defensive end of the floor yesterday in their win against the Jazz. And a lot of it kind of stemmed from the activity in terms of tone setting for what was to come from Kevin Durant and his matchup with Lauri Markkanen. It wasn't the only thing that was going on and that we'll be looking at in this film session, but it's a pretty big piece of the plot of everything that we're going to be looking at. So let's just kind of dive into the film and then just see what was going on and kind of take a little closer look at just how effective and efficient they were. So Lauri Markkanen finished last night's game with 22 points, and he did that on 15 shot attempts. Both of those numbers, the 22 points being lower than his season average of 23.7, and the 15 field goal attempts being one field goal attempt less than his normal, than his average. And also, even the three-point attempts, he was 2 for 6, and he's averaging 3.3 makes on 8 attempts. So all of those numbers across the board being down from what his typical numbers in terms of volume are statistically. So let's just kind of dive into what was going on from the Suns defensively. First possession here, we're going to start it, and we see at the bottom left corner of the screen is Kevin Durant. And notice how he's guarding him initially. And he's really, like the Suns have been doing for the better majority of this season with off-ball activity, he's locking and trailing, so he's playing from behind. And some of it is stemming from his communication early on here, as we see as I still frame it here with Nurkic, kind of calling out demands from the nail, from the middle third of the floor. And then they do a solid job just executing from there. They kind of sandwich Markkanen in the middle of the floor. They get the over-under, and they vice it and keep him in between. And then Kevin Durant does a great job playing with activity from behind on the poke. Gets the steal, Suns out on the break, and then he's going to be able to finish in transition. And then here we're going to be looking at Durant being on the second side now, or rather at the top of the key. They go into a little bit of an exchange with the handoff. And something that the Utah Jazz get into more than any team in the NBA, they love to flow into different types of actions, the dummy action to kind of just set the defensive principles and kind of mesmerize the help defense a little bit, and then flow into these off-script flare screens and really just taking advantage of leverage and defensive principles and how defenses are loading up and help on the weak side, and just really optimizing action on that second side. So Durant on high alert with his awareness and being tuned in with the game plan as they manipulate the space on that second side by clearing that second side slot area for this flare. Durant does a great job navigating it, going over, and ultimately is going to end up netting Markkanen a catch and paint touch. And he's going to end up making this basket, but he's playing in a crowded space. They're taking away the initial look that they want to get, which is the flare that ends up turning into a three-pointer. That's the home run play that they like to get off of this action. Durant does a great job funneling him into the paint and ends up, like we talked about in the first rep, vicing it with the over-under with Nurkic. And he's forcing him, in addition to Eric Gordon stepping over to get a contest from the side, to play in a condensed area of the floor. Tough shot for a tough player, and that's a good finish. But solid defense initially on that action and forcing them to go past just that to get the bucket. And then here, next rep, looking at Kevin Durant, top locking now. So we talked about him locking and trailing earlier in the game. Now we see him top locking, taking away Markkanen's ability to navigate north to play off of action and play in movement. The Jazz use him in a ton of different ways off ball to get him in movement and to get him catches dynamically. And Durant just doing a great job of really canceling action and blowing up this entire side of the play. And then you're going to see the Jazz kind of scramble to play out of that. But the job's done from Kevin Durant. You keep the ball out of their best players' hands, and now they're really searching to find offense from there. Suns are doing a great job defensively, and Eric Gordon is just a step and a beat behind in terms of going from engaging and helping at the nail to making this rotation out. But he's there early, and you're going to end up living with this result. If it's getting the ball out of Lauri Markkanen's hands completely from even getting a touch, and then getting the ball out of Jordan Clarkson's hands in addition to that. And they're going to live with that shot. Decent contest. Gordon could be a slightly better with that rotation, but you live with that because it's off of the principles that you have in place for this game. And then looking at the Suns in transition here, this is one of the best players of the game on offense or defense. Nas Little doing a great job after Eric Gordon does a good job getting back and cutting off the initial angle. Nas is able to get that block, and then the Suns are going to be playing great scramble defense in rotation from here. So they do a great job on the closeout, running Markkanen off the three-point line. Great job making him pick up his dribble outside of the paint. Nurkic is able to step over and look at the scrambling rotations from there. Nas Little fires out from that elbow forces that off, and then you end up getting 2 to the next player on this rotation, but that's okay when you're scrambling with this type of intensity and attention to detail. As the next rotation is right on schedule, that ends up leading to another drive, which leads into a drive that's going right back into the help that's resettling from the initial closeouts. Ultimately, they funnel and keep them to the outside and end up getting a stop. Great job on defense from all 5 of those players flying around with activity. And then here we're going to look at, again, Kevin Durant at the top of the screen, top left corner, fighting with Larry Markkinen, just getting into his body, locking the trail in a little bit more this time, navigating the screen, not allowing for him to get clipped off, and just really keeping the pace. And ultimately, he's going to pass the baton off to Eric Gordon, but Eric Gordon, after the tone set from Kevin Durant, is able to play with physicality, force Markkinen to play just through all types of hand activity and physical activity below, all into the legal limit, and they end up getting a stop. And then here, looking at a little bit more of the same, you're going to see Durant doing a great job on the late switch here. And ends up getting that block. And obviously, they're going to end up scoring here. It's tough to, after that just kind of fortuitously bounces right into the lap of John Collins. But we're going to look at this rotation from Durant. So they go to the empty corner, pick and roll here with Markkinen. And we're going to see Durant do a great job on the late switch. Flying back in, just 2 defensive slides, getting up a left-handed contest and getting this block while being behind schedule just a little bit. Just wildly impressive. Wildly impressive. And then here we're going to see another rep with Durant off ball and just taking away initial looks from the Utah Jazz. So he takes away this wide screen that they try to get into for Larry Markkinen. Now we see Markkinen just directing traffic because he's being pressured too much. Can't get the ball in his hands. Suns is doing a great job just flying around with defensive activity from there. And it's going to end up being a foul, but you like to see them just forcing teams to go past their initial actions. That's not something that they were doing consistently enough early in the season. But with the defensive ramp up and activity and attention to detail from Durant, that's kind of springboarding into others. And now them angling even more so to playing with more physical activity and taking away actions off ball. We're starting to see them operate in a better space defensively in a sustainable manner even more. And then here we're going to see more of the same. Markkinen inbounding the ball. Durant immediately steps over to top lock him, taking away all his progress to get north and potentially get towards the ball. He's going to end up rejecting that wide screen, and then they're going to end up playing, as you can see them just scrambling to get into action from there. They skip it to Kessler, and then obviously they get into the downhill handoff here in the empty corner. Suns do a great job with activity playing from there. They're going to get a stop. Initial stop, that is. Obviously, the offensive rebounding is something that's been an issue. They got to finish possessions. But again, you see the activity and how they're making teams work through their progressions and not just getting their first action off of merit. And then here we see a little bit more of the same with Durant. Again, they try to empty out space and get into that flare screen, and Durant just blows all of that up, ends up forcing Markkinen to reject that. That ends up getting a switch there between him and between him and Nurkic, allowing Markkinen to attack Nurkic in space. That's kind of just a tough result to come from, but you're taking away the initial action, and that's everything that you want to do. They can do a better job from the nail here as well. With Grayson Allen having Colin Sexton one pass away, he could take a step over earlier and be in position to help and support Nurkic, take away that driving lane sooner. But again, that's something that you just kind of live it when you're doing such a solid job consistently on a possession-by-possession basis. Can't stop him on every possession. And then here we're going to see Durant doing another good job just navigating, doing a great job playing with pressure, playing with activity. And you just can't lose track of the ball in terms of when you're on ball with Chris Dunn right here. But again, that's a shot that you live with. It's not coming from Jordan Clarkson. It's not coming from Larry Markkinen. It's self-created on top of that. And you just kind of live with that. But you want to do a better job kind of closing that airspace from Bradley Beal. And then looking at this rep, this was another fun one right here. So Durant doing a great job. Ultimately, Markkinen is able to get the catch. But look at how Durant just dictates where action is going to, which is all types of help and hand activity from the Suns as they really condense the court, close the airspace, and make them play where there's all types of bodies at. Markkinen ends up being used as a screener. Durant does a great job getting up this contest, but he can do a better job as well, just kind of being closer to the level of the screen. That way, when he gets into this flat switch, Colin Sexton can't find that pull-up pocket. But again, this is very good defense. That's a tough shot that was made. And then here again, more top blocking. You see Durant jump as they try to get into this wide screen here. Markkinen is going to end up struggling to create pace and flow through. And then the entire offense is sent off script from there. As you see them searching, trying to find something. Kessler ends up wheeling all the way around from the second side to the side where the ball is to set this screen. And now we're going to see Nurkic playing with activity and drop, impacting the ball. This is what you want here. And then the Suns are going to end up being out on the break from there. And then you see him in transition, flattening out play, ends up hitting Bradley Beal in his trail three, and that's cash. And then here, just more defensive activity from the Suns. I'm going to pause it here. Just look at Kevin Durant on Lauri Markkanen. Just top locking again as they try to empty the space now to try to get a little bit more real estate for Lauri Markkanen to play in. But Kevin Durant still just so solid. Again, playing physical to the legal limit, doing a solid job, setting a tone on defense for whoever is to next and guard Lauri Markkanen. We see Bradley Beal do a great job pushing his catch up a little bit higher. And this is all just really good fundamental defense. We saw Bradley Beal do a great job about a month ago now on Zion Williamson, and this is a little bit more of the same. He's not starting on Lauri, but he's able to finish it off by just being solid and active. And then you're going to end up seeing the Suns, again, shrinking the floor, making them play with bodies around, not giving them that airspace. Great job from Yusuf Nurkic 2-9 and ultimately stepping over to provide support. And then a great job on the single rotation from Eric Gordon to get the steal. And then the Suns, again, are going to be out on the break. It's going to end up leading to Eric Gordon 3, splash. And then here now we talked about them flipping the spacing on the empty pin downs, for Lauri Markkanen. Now they're going with the empty pin downs and they're using him as a screener this time. And you just see them. This is just them searching within their process to try to find airspace for Markkanen to work in. Eric Gordon is doing a good job going to the game plan in terms of conceding space outside the three-point line to Chris Dunn. Ultimately, they're going to see a little bit of a screen here set. That's going to net a switch there between Eric Gordon and Kevin Durant. And this is just kind of a little bit of the result that you get when the Suns are playing so small. And you end up getting a switch detaching Kevin Durant from Lauri Markkanen. He's able to just catch and raise right over the top of Eric Gordon. This is all very solid defense, but this is also an all-star, all-NBA type of player and one of the best shooters in the NBA. He's going to win a handful of battles, but as long as you're making it tough, mission accomplished. And they did just that. And then here we're going to see a little bit more of the same with Kevin Durant, this time top locking again on Lauri Markkanen as you see them try to get into the empty corner pin down. He ends up just, again, canceling this entire action. And now we're going to see the Jazz playing off script, just trying to play in space. Ends up getting a foul there called on the Suns. But again, just great defense starting from the tone set from Kevin Durant and then kind of permeating to the rest of the players. And then this last rep here was just the most fun play of the game here. Kevin Durant getting it started on defense and then piecing together yet another sequence. So doing a great job on the late switch. Just being able to get in rim protection, gets the block, and then they're playing out in transition, and you know what's coming next. Doing a great job with pace, getting across the half-court line early, and then he just does his dance, gets to the cup, and is able to finish. Really great game from the Suns, especially from the tones being set on multiple possessions from Kevin Durant, and that's something they got to continue to play off of.